Idiot.
No, you're the nose sniffing.
Oh, it's your nose? Oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. I guess some people used to be.
Alright, thank you guys for being here.
Oh, so where you went?
So a couple people couldn't make it last minute. You can let that swing over. You wanna grab a stool?
Yeah.
40-degree flip flop, dude. Oh.
Yeah, you might see over there. Sorry. I know. Alright, so as you guys know, the gym changed ownership. And what that means is a lot of good changes coming our way. First, I want to talk a little bit about who I am. And that's important to me because everybody has a story. Everybody came from somewhere. Everybody has a belief. Everybody has a set of morals. Everybody has a code or whatever that they live by. How they are with their family, how they are with their friends, how they are with work. And the older we get, I'm sure what we realize is that the life we live sort of makes us who we are. When you're younger, you got a lot of room to grow. You don't have a lot of room to grow when you're older, but you just have years and years ahead of you to be molded into the person that you're going to become. I was not always in the fitness industry. I spent a lot of time in the restaurant industry. And if you guys are familiar with the restaurant industry, it's full of lots of other debauchery. That's pretty much the opposite of fitness. And so I found myself really involved in a lot of that. Certainly not stuff that I'm proud of, but it did make me who I am today. My life took a turn when I was charged with 6 felonies. And to say the least, I was not a contributing member of society. You know what I mean? I was a taker. I was selfish. I was, not intentionally, you know, I was pretty sure when I was like 5 years old, I wanted to be a firefighter or an astronaut or something cool like that. And not a burden on society. I don't think any 5-year-old's like, I want to be a burden on society. So, but that's where I wound up. And I managed to turn my life around in a big way, but not everybody welcomes that the same way. So when I decided to get out of the restaurant business and get into the fitness industry, because I'd lost a lot of weight, I'd gotten into shape, I got a lot of doors closed in my face. And Tony, the guy who used to own this gym, looked at me and he said, "Are you the same person you were?" And I said, "No." He said, "I didn't think you were. You don't seem like you were." He said, "Everybody's got a past and you've got a shot here if you want it." And I said, "I appreciate that." And so that's how I am with other people. You can make mistakes in this world. You have the freedom to make mistakes. If anything, I encourage people to make mistakes. Some of the most successful people in the world made lots of mistakes. I don't know if it's true or not, sort of irrelevant. Most of the time, I don't fact check certain stuff like that. I just listen to the message. I was listening to Denzel Washington do like a commencement speech the other day. And he said, "You guys know that Alexander Graham Bell, or no, Thomas Edison, invented the light bulb. The light bulb was like his 1001st invention. And before he got famous for inventing the light bulb, he had 1,000 failed or very unsuccessful inventions. I mean, what if at 500 he gave up? And he was just like, I'm not a good inventor, this isn't going anywhere. You know, we might not have light bulbs, or we would maybe have had light bulbs way further down the road. So what I'm saying is, don't be scared to make mistakes. So with that being said, like, I don't like laziness. I don't like excuses. I don't like people that are know-it-alls. I don't like people that are unwilling to change or grow. But if you make mistakes, that does not make you an unlikable person. If anything, in my eyes, what that says is you were willing to put yourself out there and try something and use it as an opportunity to learn. So, you know, I'm never going to give anybody a hard time for messing up, as long as you use it as an opportunity to grow. Who are the other owners of this gym? So we have Al, which most of you guys are familiar with. He's here with Micah. He's a entrepreneur, business owner. He's also worked in the power industry, I believe. Gas, energy. And we got a guy by the name of Matt Brown, who owns a jet ski company. He's also works with the guy who started the company Town Park, which when that company was sold, they cut something like 1,600 checks to employees who were all owners of the company. So he's a big believer in giving people a stake in the company and giving people more of a reason to show up for work than just because it's a job. You know what I mean? So he's going to help me come up with some incentive programs. And Jeremiah's the same way. Some incentive programs to help you guys come up with other ways to earn money as this gym grows.
Bless you. Bless you.
So he's currently working with the old owner of Town Park. They have an app, basically a program that helps dealerships move through their used car inventory in about 1/6 of the time that they ordinarily would, which saves them, probably each dealership saves them close to $1 to $2 million a year. Pretty awesome app. So he works for a company that does that. They started locally and they're already all up and down the East Coast in a matter of like 2 years, 2.5 years.
Does he work out here?
What is he getting out of being involved in the gym? Why was it?
He didn't lose
he works out
he
here?
didn't lose his place to work out.
Okay, that's he likes coming here and working out.
So-
he didn't want to see it go away.
All of these people that I ultimately turned to invest in because I couldn't get a loan because without going into a whole lot of detail, the record keeping was not A+, and so anybody that I went to get a loan from looked at me and said, "You've lost your fucking mind. Nobody's going to give you a loan for this gym because we can't even see like if it's profitable or if it's not profitable, how unprofitable it is. Like I really just had nothing to show them."
Yeah.
But the guy that was a good friend of mine that loaned me money before when I was partnering in the gym said, "You're a hustler, and I know you're not going to let me telling you I'm not going to loan you money stop you from trying to buy this gym. So I'm going to give you some ideas, and you're a smart guy. You're going to run with it." And that was to find outside investors. And I made a list of 20 people. All of them were members of this gym. Because that was important to me to find people who cared about the gym. And I called 7 people, and 5 out of the first 7 people said, "Count me in." They made it very clear, and I'm not trying to float my own boat, that if it was anybody else asking them, they'd have been like, "I don't have the money." So they believe in this gym, they believe in the trainers, they believe in my ability to help this gym grow, at least get back to where it was and then grow from there. And then, so all of the owners are members of the gym who like to invest their money, who believe this gym can be a lot more than it is. And they all have experience that can help this gym grow. So, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Peak Social. It's a social group. They do kickball leagues, bowling leagues. They even have a curling league. And it actually did really well. So that was started right at the beginning of the pandemic. And the guy, Jeremiah, who started that league, and it's a company, it's a profitable company, has grown that league to 3,000 members during the pandemic. He's very good at marketing, so is Matt. They're also very good at scaling. So if this gym ever does well enough that we feel like we can open more locations, that's a possibility, and we certainly have a team of people that can make that happen. Between the 6 of us, we will also have the capital to make that happen, especially if this gym is doing really well. Robbie Roberts,
He's the front
not
desk.
the race car driver for Mickey Mouse, that's a different Robbie Roberts, but
Is he the front desk
Not
guy?
a lot of
Okay.
it's,
he's the front desk guy. He was the owner of Evolve Board Shop on Main Street and the owner of Pure Board Shop right around the corner from us. He's been a brick and mortar entrepreneur who also has a pretty good online presence.
Like the skateboard shop?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Skateboards, snowboards, surfboards, any kind of board. And you can't go to a state in this country and not see his bumper stickers or his hat. So he's also very good at branding and has a huge understanding of what that means to not just create a business, but to create a brand. Denby Flynn is sort of a low-lying partner and owner. She will be in charge of all of our website and also has a background in marketing and graphic design. She's put together our website, she's put together our logo with everybody's help and input, and she doesn't want to do much but collect some of the profits at the end of the year and again also have a place to work out. So her and Matt are sort of low key. They're willing to step in and help anytime we need them to, but they're also very busy with their other jobs. But with that being said, if I looked at Matt and said, hey, this thing is going crazy, we need to come up with better incentive programs for the employees, and we need to start figuring out how we're going to scale this so that we can open 2 more gyms in the next year. He would stop what he's doing and make that happen. Because it's in his best interest, he'll get more money out of it in the end, but also he enjoys doing stuff like that. So we had talked about some of the other owners and I about core values. Core values really help shape any business. And these are not necessarily exactly what we're going to go with, but probably somewhere along the lines of humility, teachability, responsibility, and integrity. Anybody know what humility is?
Being humble.
What's being humble though? What does it mean to be humble?
not thinking you know more than other people, and just not being big-headed, essentially. Be willing to learn. Don't feel like you have all the answers. It's,
All those are definitely part of it. There's,
I think you've been there before, so cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a big deal. Whatever you do, you got more you can do.
Most people associate ego with humility. So the lack of ego tends to play a big part in, oh, you making a phone call? Big part in one's level of humility. And so sometimes people also get ego confused, and you think of it as like somebody who's really pompous or really full of themselves. Somebody who thinks too much of themselves. But ego is really not somebody who thinks too much of themselves, it's somebody who thinks of themselves too much, if that makes sense. So there's a positive and a negative side to ego, adversely to humility. So if somebody says, Aaron, you look really nice today, and you're like, no, I don't, I look horrible. I look horrible every day, I just had a baby and all this other stuff. And I'm not gonna come to work this week because I just don't feel like I look like I should be in the gym just yet. That's ego. Right? That's not you being pompous at all. But it is you thinking of yourself too much. Right? If I was super self-conscious about being bald, I'm assuming that everybody in this room gives a shit whether or not I'm bald or not, right? That's me thinking of myself too much. And it's just as easy to get caught up in that and thinking that we're not good enough, or we're not handsome enough, we're not pretty enough, we're not smart enough, we're not all these things. And that is equally all about ego. It's assuming that other people, that we know better how other people see us than we actually do. For all I know, everybody thinks I'm actually a pretty handsome guy and pretty smart. But the fact that I spend X amount of time thinking about it is ego. So, one of the things that helps in my mind with that is just us being really supportive of each other. Because we are all going to have those days where we are a little bit unsure or down on whether or not we're doing as good as we can as a trainer, or as an instructor, or as a front desk guy, or as the guy who fucking mops the bathroom. You know, to me, one of my most favorite things in the world to do, and this may sound funny to you guys, is cleaning this gym. I love getting the broom and the mop out and the vacuum and just spending like an hour and 20 minutes just going corner to corner and trying to make this gym as spotless as I can. For me, it's relaxing, and it's something that I can take pride in because I know people are going to come in the next day and they're going to notice. And equally as much, they're going to notice if we don't. They have already. We've had a lot of complaints. When Tony left, because Tony was big on that too, that the gym was not orderly, it was not as clean, and all that comes from the top down. You know, if you guys don't see me in here doing certain things, then why are you going to do it? I mean, I can tell you it's because it's your job, but you're not nearly as likely to listen to me saying that if you don't also see me coming in here and doing some of those same things. You know, there was a cat. Let me start by saying the toilet wouldn't flush, and it got pretty clogged up. And I've worked in the restaurant business, and it behooves of owners and managers to try to save money and not pay an extra $500 for a plumber to come out on a Saturday if you can fix it yourself. So we're using the plunger. We can't figure out why this toilet is stopped up. Tony's away on vacation. Might even have been his, what do you call it when you go away after your wedding? Honeymoon. Oh, shit. And I'm staring at the top of the toilet, and there's a aerosol can right there, and I'm like, there's no lid on that aerosol can. You gotta be fucking kidding me. So it fell upside down. So it looked like it was just a hole in the toilet. You couldn't see that there was a lid in there. So I was like, I'm pretty sure it's in there. I can't tell. And I reached my hand in, and sure enough, it was just a lid sitting there, and that's why I wouldn't. But I'm just saying that I don't expect you guys to reach your hand into a toilet full of shit to pull out a fucking lid, okay? But that's the way that I operate. So I can assure you that if I'm asking you to do something, I have done it, and probably then some. And I don't think it's too much for me to ask. You know, Josh brings this up regularly at meetings. We have assigned tasks to a degree. You guys are trainers, you're not janitors. But that doesn't mean that if there's something spilled on the floor that Josh doesn't know where the mop is and he's not going to grab the mop and grab it and clean it up real quick. I don't expect people to stop in the middle of their clients. I don't expect people to cancel a client because there's some issue going on. But the best you can do as a team to address some of this stuff, or as best as you can, and then put a message on the text thread, or call me and say, hey Ben, if I'm not already in the building, this is what's going on. Here's your heads up. I fixed it or cleaned it as best as I could, but I had a client, or I had somewhere I needed to be. I can't just sit here all night looking at it. I got a dinner date, or kids, or whatever else you guys have in your personal life. Training for the fights. I mean, we all have priorities, and our day is sort of mapped out. We can make adjustments, but I don't expect anybody necessarily to completely change their day because something's going on here. Do the best you can to take some responsibility and have some ownership of this gym. as best as you can without it affecting you, and then just communicate that.
That is one of the things that's kind of tough, is because we don't have a shift. Like, our shift is when we're here working, but we're here working with an assignment. So it does make it kind of hard. It does make sense. Like,
Yeah.
well, I leave and go to Crazy 8, or I leave and go to the other place that I work, or I leave and go to Hotbox 1, or whatever. Like, so it's like, when are you supposed to do that? Like, if you do see the mess, I mean, I do get it. It is hard, but it's like, whatever you can do, you can do. You know?
I mean, and really, you guys just have to ask yourself a question. I mean, that goes on to what we're talking about. Core values, one of the things being integrity. You know whether or not you actually have 15 minutes to do something extra, whether it's looking at that shelf that gets messy and straightening it up, or something that's actually more dire, or whether or not you're just making it up when you say, I've got to be somewhere in 10 minutes, when really you don't have to be there till like 2 o'clock and it's at 1 o'clock right now, right? So that's just something that I expect everybody. I mean, I've answered the phone and been like, yeah, I'm on my way, and I fucking haven't even walked out the front door, okay? So we've all done it, we've all made shit up, okay? But I have a lot more trouble now doing that than I did 20 years ago, because of some of the emotional turmoil. And I won't go into detail, but things add up, and eventually, we come across this level of emotional turmoil, and you say, how much of this am I willing to put up with before I just stop lying about shit like that? So now I say, I'm literally just getting out of bed, I'll be there as soon as I can. The reason why we say stuff like that is because we assume that the person we're talking to will be upset if I tell them the truth, that I'm just getting out of bed and not halfway there already. And the fact of the matter is, every one of us has been late. Every one of us has said that as an excuse. So it's not realistic for us to think that other people won't be understanding of our mistakes, right? We're all gonna make mistakes, we're all human. That means I'm gonna let people down, and people are gonna let me down. And the more I can understand that, the more it's easier to A, be truthful, and B, understand when other people are the way they are with me. Responsibility and teachability. I still learn stuff. Some of the stuff I've learned here, I've learned at the slowest pace possible. I was not the quickest at learning like anatomy. I pretty much learned it from Tony and Brenna and Josh and some of the meetings that we had like this, where we talked about stuff that we were learning. Not that I didn't learn it in school. I just picked it up. It was one of those things. I just picked it up slowly. And so I do know a fair amount of anatomy now, but that's because I never acted like I couldn't learn more and that I couldn't learn better about it. And I still ask questions. So we just have to remain teachable. We have to understand that this is really, our careers and our lives are journeys, and the more we can continue to learn, the better. Integrity, we already talked about that. Responsibility, this is your gym as much as it's my gym. I mean, I might get paid to run it. I might have put money in to help keep it from getting the doors closed, and asked other people to do the same. But I did that because I did not want myself or anyone else, and I believe I've looked at some of you guys and promised. And at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer that all you have is your word. Everything else can go out the window. You can be dead broke, homeless, whatever. If you still have your word, then you still have this thing, this integrity. And I said, I'm not going to let them close the doors to this gym. I'm not going to let anybody be out of a job. And that was not an easy task, but I meant what I said when I said it. And it's not just about you guys. I mean, I believe this gym has always had really good potential, even when Tony owned it. There were certain things that he started falling flat on because you get burned out, because life changes. He had different aspirations. He had to weather COVID. You know, that's enough to make anybody change a career, which is even happening with a lot of people. So, my hat's off to him for keeping his gym open and weathering through that. And I certainly don't blame him for saying, I don't want to be a gym owner anymore. I'd rather work at a university collecting a big paycheck and just like living a good life.
Not to start.
No, but
My sister's, it was one of the things that I found was unbelievable. My sister is a doctor of education. And she's like searching for a job. She makes more as a public high school teacher. She left to go be a college professor. You have to like build your way in. Then you eventually get a fat paycheck. Your research starts to get published. But when you start, they're hiring you for like $60,000. Like you have a doctorate. You're 33 years old. You're taking a pay cut to go teach at a university. It's unbelievable. So if you didn't know that, you don't know. Like I learned it from her. I had no idea. Like professors, like they gotta be loaded, right? It's like they're dirt poor for a while.
but taking a pay
Middle
cut,
class, you know.
take for Tony something like taking a pay cut and having those letters after his name was right up his alley.
Right, totally. 100. That was literally what always.
You know, and that's something that I want to express to everybody. I'm not suggesting anybody take a pay cut. If you've ever talked to anybody about changing careers or changing jobs, most people will tell you to never move laterally, and certainly don't move backwards, right? So in other words, if you move and you're making the same money, that at least there's more potential for growth. Or maybe there isn't any more potential for growth, but you get a big pay increase. But that you should never take a pay decrease. And that's not always true. I mean, sometimes if we really want to change careers or we really want to move forward, we have to take a step backwards. I feel like I'm an expert at taking steps backwards at this point. I've taken a lot of steps backwards.
We gotta come in at 6 a.m. on a Saturday.
That's
You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
$40,000 pay cut to do this shit.
And you know what? But Josh and I have been there, man. I've
Yeah,
been here
that's what I was
5 o'clock
saying.
at night,
Like,
I've been here early in the morning.
I've been there more than anybody could ever know. All the
And
times that I've where
You gotta take what you can get.
yeah.
So, but that's what I'm saying. So you know, there's going to be a lot of, you have to be flexible and you have to be able to be willing to take some risks, understand that you know what you're doing, right? You guys know what you're doing. You're in this field. You got certified to be in this field. You're experts. That doesn't mean you don't have room to learn, but you're experts in your field. And people come to you because they're not experts. They don't wake up and start building decks because they want a new deck. They call it deck builder, right? And it's not any different than that. So you have to understand for sure that being flexible and understanding that your growth is going to look like this. You know what I mean? It's going to go up and down, but as long as it's staying sort of steady up, don't be scared to take the small steps back. Don't be scared to do groups, small group fitnesses, right? Where 3 people show up instead of the 10 you were hoping for. And that's not a waste, and that's not a fail. That's a learning experience to say, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? Was it the time? Was it the time of year? Did I not advertise enough? I mean, there's all sorts of reasons why things don't go the way we really honestly thought they were going to go. So a couple of things I want to talk about next. Patience, ownership, and effort. That was the other thing. It's not necessarily core values, but I asked for you guys to be patient with me. When I was doing this, I didn't do it half-assed. I put a lot of money away for budget for a rainy day. We call it a prudent reserve. That means should some catastrophe happen that we're not sunk because we can't make the next month's rent because we had a small fire or something like that. We have a lot of money in the bank, and that doesn't necessarily mean that I want to spend it. It's got to stay there. But there's also a lot of capital for improvements, but they're not going to happen all at once because I'm not going to dip into that prudent reserve knowing that we're going to have sales to replace it, only to have something happen and not be able to replace it. So I'm not robbing Peter to pay Paul or counting my chickens before they're hatched or any of that stuff. I have made a lifetime of counting chickens before they're hatched. And I can tell you, nobody came up with that expression because shit never goes wrong. As a matter of fact, shit goes wrong more often than not. And that's why that expression exists. And I used to basically just roll through life being like, whatever, you guys don't know what you're talking about. It's not gonna happen to me. Boom, right around the corner, it's waiting for me every time. And it only took me like 20 years. I think that's pretty fast to learn my lessons. That it's better to just be prepared and not overextend yourself. So as a gym, I'm not gonna overextend this gym in the name of just getting a couple new dumbbells. Everything we're gonna get, once a month, twice a month, all these improvements are gonna happen over time, as fast as I can possibly make them happen. Trust me, we're not gonna drag our feet on anything. We just wanna make sure that we always have the money to pay for it in cash, not necessarily on credit. Ownership that goes along with responsibility, and the last thing I'll say on this is the effort. When it comes to training, when it comes to teaching, I really want you guys to put your best foot forward. Our classes have a reputation of being exciting. They have a reputation of being brutally hard. They have a reputation of a lot of things along those lines. Now, I know you guys are professional boxers. You have a little bit of experience. Josh has some experience. You have some experience. All that comes in handy, right? But remember, nobody's there to learn. I'm not saying that they're not there to learn technique. We just have to do better at figuring out a way to not push so much technique that it takes away from the intensity of the class, but not abandon technique so much that people get injured, right? There are certain things, you have to hit a heavy bag a certain way. You have to kick a heavy bag a certain way. Or you start tearing ACLs, or you start ripping shoulders out of sockets and getting labrum tears and stuff like that. So there's a place for your expertise on how to properly hit a bag. But we have to do better at keeping the pace of the class fast, exciting, loud, obnoxious, difficult, you name it. Does everybody get what I'm saying?
Is that, you're probably gonna get to this later or whatever, but like, I asked this one of the other meetings before with Micah and stuff, like, are we gonna use that as sort of the foundation of why people should come to the gym? Because like high intensity bag classes, that's sort of like the staple or the branding or the main shtick of our gym, you know what I mean? Or whatever.
That is gonna be one of the main sticks.
Okay. Just curious. I know you'll probably get to that later, but it's kind of like, that I would just want to say, like, if that is, it's like come to Rise because we have badass bag classes. It's like we have to have super badass bag classes. You know what I mean? Like damn well everybody in here needs to have a sweet bag class, because if you don't, then there's literally no point in coming to this gym. You can go to any gym. You know?
It's like going to a luxury car dealership and seeing like jalopies on the lot.
Right.
I thought this was supposed to be a luxury car
So
dealership.
it's sort of like with that. So it's like it doesn't really matter what your class wants to be or doesn't want to be. If you want to have a special class, have a special class. But if Rise Kickboxing is the sweet, bad, super hard, kick butt intensity workout on the bags gym, you gotta have that in your wheelhouse too.
Yeah.
So we call it Rise now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rise Fitness and Kickboxing.
You know, like it's RFK.
Is it RY or RI?
What is that?
It's not RI.
Alright.
RY, does that mean
Can
something
we get a
else?
sponsorship from Rise Up?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I get it.
It's just what?
It's just cringe.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Miles?
Can you get a sponsorship from Rise Up?
Yeah.
Free coffee. You trade for free boxing.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
I'll get one.
Nothing like
Well,
cross
definitely.
I was saying this-
Oh, you checked up on service.
Everyone espresso shot before
When someone in DMV says the word rise, there's already a positive connotation to it, right? Just like the energy imprint is like, as soon as the word rise comes and you live anywhere around DC, Annapolis, Eastern Shore, Delaware, or Northern Virginia, you think rise up, and automatically, you don't even have to say rise up, but you just hear rise up. oh, commercially, that word is awesome in my head because Rise Up rules.
Yeah.
And thereby, like, you don't even have to try to make it sound cool because
Yeah.
we already sound like Rise Up and Rise Up is the best. So, you know, I think that's kind of cool.
We can walk down the street.
Now I want coffee.
No, I should have gotten Dunkin'
I do
Donuts.
love the coffee so much.
Alright, so I want to read you guys a couple things, and I'm big on quotes. We're actually going to have like a quote section of the wall where each day we put up a quote that has something to do with working out or life or just moving forward. The obstacle is the path. The obstacle isn't something standing in our way, it is the way itself. And again, if my life in general and what had to go down to make the purchase of this gym happen and keep the doors open, I mean, this line spoke to me because it seemed like nothing but a giant obstacle. When in fact it was, like it's suggesting this, it was not an obstacle, it was actually just the path. That was the path to this gym staying open. You know what I mean? I had to get other people, I had to ask for help, I had to say I can't do this myself. I said I have an idea of how I want to see this all happen, but I'm open for suggestions. It was me having to look at Tony and saying, I don't know what to tell you, dude, I'm a convicted felon, I can't vote, I can't own a gun, and nobody will give me a job in this town because of that, but I really want to be out, I want to improve my life. I want to be out of the restaurant business, I want to get into the gym business. And him saying, all right, yeah, let's sign you up. Sound like, and I mean, he was hard on me at times, but he never judged me for that. I hear other people talk about that same issue, and I look at it and I just say, you need to find a way. Number one, nobody made you commit those crimes, okay? You fucking made that choice. So you have to accept that, number one, first and foremost. We have to accept our mistakes in life. We have to accept and take responsibility for our actions, whether it's failing out of school, whether it's wrecking a car, whether it's a relationship not working out. It takes two people for it to work. It takes two people for it to not work. These are all things that happen that we have to take responsibility for. You can't move forward until that happens. So learning how to take responsibility for certain things is the path to get over what appears to be an obstacle that may not be an obstacle at all. It's actually a clear-cut path in the direction you're supposed to be moving in. And I'm not going to get all religious-y on you, but I mean, if you have faith in this universe or God or whatever you want to call it, then you know how often that happens where something's happening and I don't know, I can't really say why, and I wish I could get the answer by next week, but it rarely works that way. I got to keep pushing forward, and in some undetermined amount of time, I will get the answer I'm looking for and the reason why A, B, C happened. It's just never on my terms. So I would like, if I could have the answer to this by like 5 p.m., it would be awesome. And normally it's like 5 p.m. 3 years later. So, on this sheet I also put principles of Zen philosophy that are the denial of ego. We talked about that. So we don't really play the ego, good or bad. The focus of interconnectedness in the universe, recognition of attachment as a source of suffering, and realization that human perception is faulty. What I mean by that is often what we think about the way things are is not necessarily true. The truth is my attitude is either good or it is bad, right? So if I'm looking at something that Miles is doing, it may only be very, very partially about what Miles is actually doing. More often than not, it's about my perception of what Miles is doing and where my frame of mind is. If we look at each other in that manner, it becomes very easy to work with one another and to be patient and to see each other as the same. as some people that are just trying to improve their lives, to make some money, to pay our bills, and to be a part of this gym, right? What that means to Hayden and what that means to Miles may be two different things. They could be at two different places in their life, and so it's not necessarily going to look the exact same, but it is. If I can change my perception of what that means to come in here and work hard and do your job, then I'm not comparing you all to one another, or even comparing you to my idea of what that's supposed to be. I'm just comparing you to you yesterday. Are you better than you were yesterday? Are you trying harder than you were yesterday? Because if I compare you to what I think it should be, it's probably going to fall what? Short. So we can't do that. I can't do that with you guys, and you guys can't do that with each other. That's not lifting each other up. That's me saying, that's me coming up with reasons as to why everybody sucks, right? And that's about my perception. So, I'm gonna do my best to not do that. I expect everybody else to do their best also to just try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And if anything, just say, hey man, are you having a bad day? Or can I show you a better way to do that? Like, we can do that with each other. You know, Hayden's shown me a few things that I didn't know, and I've shown him a few things that he didn't know. And that happens to us all the time, you know. I don't take it personally. That's not him saying, Ben, you suck, or Ben, you don't know what you're talking about. That's him just saying, hey, there might be something more helpful. One of the things I was talking about, speaking of being helpful with the energy and classes and stuff like that, we are all going to have days where we're not at our best. Feel free to stay home. Tony was big on that too, and I'm a big believer in that. We have enough people here to help cover classes. Rarely can we ever not cover classes, but if you're gonna come into class and like your girlfriend you found out was just cheating on you and you're like heartbroken and bummed and you're not gonna come in and teach the best class. I mean, some people as you get older, I can probably do it now. I mean, I've gone through 2 divorces and a miscarriage and the birth of my child and lots of other stuff in this gym, and so I can sometimes switch it on and switch it off, but I don't expect everybody else to be able to do that. And so if you're just having a day where you're just not feeling it, man, don't bring that energy in here. There's no shame in just saying, today is not the day, bless you. And let us help you out, you know, let us help you out.
That's really meaningful, you said. That's big. Most people wouldn't say that. Say get your ass to work.
Yeah.
Which is sort of understandable too. You know what I mean?
I mean, at some point
You saying that?
You can't have like 80 bad days.
Yeah, bro. My girlfriend dumped me again.
I mean, you can.
Yeah, actually, you definitely can, but then it's on you to start fixing your stuff. I've had many a 2-week run of depression. You know what I mean?
All right, life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. Again, you know, at the beginning of last month, I did not expect to be a gym owner, but I had like literally a few minutes to think about it and say either I'm going to do this or I'm not. And everything in my life I've always done out of fear. Always made decisions and choices out of fear. And I don't know if you guys can relate to that at all, but it's no way to live. To be scared of success or to be scared of failure, it doesn't matter. To make choices, not because it's something you want to do or don't want to do, but simply because you're fearful of something else, is never going to wind up good. You know what I mean? You're always going to be feeling safe. And man, it's really hard to grow when that's where you're at. So I encourage people to get uncomfortable. I encourage people to take some calculated risks. Notice I said the word calculated because I used to get that confused. It would just be reckless. And I'd be like, come on, why am I not growing? No, they didn't mean just like drive 100 miles an hour down the highway. That's not what they were talking about. So take some calculated risks and live a little. You know what I mean? I'm not going to tell you what that looks like or how to do it. because everybody's path is going to be their own. But just understand that if you ever have any questions about that, you can feel free to come ask me. The 4 agreements. I don't know if anyone's ever read this book, Be Impeccable with Your Word. That just means mean what you say and say what you mean. Don't talk out of the side of your mouth, no bullshit. It's never going to work well for you, and most of the time people can see through it and they'll start forming opinions about what you're saying. Don't take anything personally. So when I'm on my way in here and somebody cuts me off, they didn't wake up in the morning and say, on the way to work, I'm also going to find Ben and cut him off and try to ruin his morning. When I left my sunroof open, the birds didn't wake up in the morning and say, hey, look guys, Ben left his sunroof open, there's shit in his car all over the interior because we want to really mess with him. It's not how it happened, you know what I mean? So don't take anything personally. Just understand that everybody's on their own path, and sometimes that looks like this. You get a little collision, 2 people traveling in the same direction and running into one another. Most of the time, people don't mean things to be against anybody else. They just are what they are. Don't make assumptions. Somebody could be having a bad day and they just make a comment to you, and your assumption is they're mad at you or disappointed with you. And that's an assumption that maybe you can't be helpful to them if you're assuming that they're mad at you. But if you assume nothing and just say, hey, is there a problem with me or with you, you know, one way or the other, then most of the time we can work through stuff a lot quicker. Assumptions are really horrible nowadays because of texting. So if you're ever uncertain by somebody's text, pick up the phone and call, because then you'll get a better idea of what somebody actually means. The other thing about assumptions, the longer we sit on an assumption, the longer that assumption starts becoming a problem, a resentment or a fear or something like that, because now we're just stewing in our head. We haven't actually gotten the answer. We're still just making this assumption about some situation or person. Always do your best. That can look different on any day. We say this to our clients all the time when they're lifting, right? They get upset because last week they clean and pressed 210 pounds and this week they were struggling with 180. Well, 180 was their best today. You know what I mean? So if you guys can just promise to yourselves and promise to me that each day when you come in here, you're just going to bring your best, that gives you a lot of leeway. Because I don't know what that even is. I don't even know what your best is. But if you're telling me that what you're giving me is your best, I got to take you at your word. And so that's on you now to be able to honestly say I did my best today. And if you didn't, to be able to honestly say that, to be able to say, man, I didn't bring it today. I didn't do my best today. It's my hard feelings. What can you expect out of all these changes? Positive change and growth. We're going to be constantly moving in the right direction. I can't always say it's going to be fast, but it'll be as fast as we can. We will always do our best to keep a certain pace. Whether it's buying new equipment, whether it's the paint, whether it's procedural things that are messed up. I appreciate everybody getting on the same page about payroll. If you still don't understand it, please get with me before the next payroll. It protects the company against theft. It protects you guys from forgetfulness. So I'm not saying that we have anyone stealing, but it has happened. We know people that have done it in this industry, some people to the tune of $1 million. And basically it's a check and a balance. If this is the procedure, then you don't have to accuse me of shorting your paycheck, and I don't have to accuse you of stealing. We just know that either those numbers match or they don't, right? And I say that because, let's say accidentally, I write you a check, and those numbers didn't match, and we didn't fill out the spreadsheet, and you come to me and say, Ben, my paycheck's wrong. You know, really, I'm almost positive it should have been like $150, $200 more. And 3 of you guys do that. Now I've got to keep track of 3 people's pay, because we don't have checks on site. They're gonna have to get rolled into the next payroll. And I'm gonna have to remember that 2 weeks from now and make sure that it's right in the computer system so the person doing the accounting doesn't look at me and say, Ben, why are we just writing checks to people for this money? And that's assuming that nobody else makes the same mistake the following pay period where I've now got to roll those mistakes in. It can get out of hand quick. I can already tell you that it was out of hand. So this is a way for me to make sure that on payday, everybody gets the money that they're supposed to get. They don't have to wait 2 weeks for it, or I don't have to look at somebody and say, hey man, your paycheck was really wrong. You owe me $400 back. Because I guarantee for a lot of us, if you're anything like me, that money was already spent. You know what I'm saying? You call me at the end of the week, that is gone. So,
With that too, I think it's because are we gonna continue to use ShapeNet at least for now? Yeah, so maybe some people do or don't know this that much, but it's very unforgiving. So if you put the wrong thing in, the only person who can change it is Ben. You know what I mean? And so like, it's really important because it's really, really, really easy. I've done it a billion times to open it up and accidentally charge $55 for 10 sessions instead of 50. And then you're like, oh crap. And then you cannot take it away. You have to go to Ben. So then you're gonna look at the end of the month and go, why is ShapeNet saying more or less or whatever, you know what I mean? And so seeing that match, because it's so easy to be on a computer, think about how easily that can happen. $5 instead of 50. I've done that before. Ben and I talked about all the millions of mistakes we made where it's like, I charged like one session for $500 and then I charged 10 sessions for $5, you know what I mean? It's like, right? And you just think you're putting it in every time, like, I'm good, and then it doesn't add up, right? So the ShapeNet, because of our system, it's not like, oh crap, whoops, let me just delete that and charge it again better. The only way you're gonna know if your numbers are right is if you double track it, you know? And then you have to go to them and say, hey man, I messed this up, I'm supposed to get more, I'm supposed to get less, this package, can you change it?
and because I've messed it up so badly,
many times.
I'm very good at fixing it pretty quick.
Yeah.
I can identify almost any problem you guys make.
So I always recommend don't do it on your phone. If you're gonna do packages, do it on a computer or do it on the tab. That's why I always ask about the tablet, because it's so easy to hit the wrong button on your phone, undo this and that. So that's just my personal recommendation, because I used to do it and I used to mess up and I have to always go to Tony or Janine and they're like, come on man. So I just started doing it where I had a big screen and I couldn't accidentally hit the wrong thing. I didn't rush. Because you're on your phone too, you see a notification and you're already thinking about the text that came and you're like, all right, yeah, charge me. You know, so anyway, that's just a personal recommendation of mine. Because you know Ben's gonna have a lot on his plate, so the less packages of yours that he has to delete or change the amount or whatever the better.
Yeah, that's a good point. When you're doing stuff on your cell phone, it is a lot easier to accidentally hit the wrong button. And with some things on there, it seems to ask you an excessive amount of times before
Is it
actually.
right? Is it right? Is it right?
But then there's a few where it's just like you hit the wrong button once and you're like, that's it, you're done. I'll get you another. You got each.
Oh, the no show instead of done? Yeah, there you go, exactly. So I just don't use ShapeNet on my phone personally. Or that you can do what you want, but just know that like pay attention when you're
Good
doing
thing
it.
to come. Alright, so hey, most of the stuff that's on the bottom of this sheet, Miles, just call me about it. We're actually recording this anyway, but we'll catch you up on it.
Okay, thank you.
Alright, so things that we're going to really be working on: activities, events, and challenges. So we're already starting. I already put ads out for a challenge. It's called the $1 Million Challenge. It's not really for $1 million, but it will be for a fuck ton of money, like close to $10,000. It's going to be 10 teams of 10, ideally. We may have to bring in some makeshift trainers, like Ellen or anybody else that stepped in to teach classes. This is kind of how Paul got into this. But I would like to have 10 teams of 10. That is a lot to handle. I think we can handle it. I think we can work with each other to make that work. I think the execution of this challenge is going to set the tone for the rest of the year for this gym. And the more it is perceived as absolutely epic, then the better that's, I mean, that's 100 people in a challenge, probably about 30 or 40% of them new to this gym, not necessarily members, but people coming in from the outside that just heard about it, because or their friend dragged them into it or whatever, that are just gonna have an amazing experience. They're gonna lose some body fat, they're gonna have a chance at winning some money, but more than anything, they're gonna be part of something that's gonna help them grow. And by the end of the challenge, hopefully they see that. And when they see that, they're gonna need a trainer to keep training them. Get some clients out of these challenges. Because that is, that other than changing people's lives, which is what we're here for, we're also here to make money doing it. That's what it's for, okay?
Can you please now, both for me, but especially for the group, but I really want to know too if you're doing anything different, up front, tell us what's happening with the money on, not the money coming in, but like, we don't get paid for the challenge, right? It's more like, so just explain to me from the beginning how that works for my, what am I gonna be expected to do? How much money am I gonna make for it? Blah, 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 just so that we're all aware of the truth. You know?
All right, so we're looking at 2 to 3 team workouts a week for each trainer. That'll be up to you. If all you can do is 2, that's fine. If you can do a third one, that's awesome. But 2 to 3 workouts with your team each week. That is the only requirement. There's no pay for that. It's pro bono. It's your guys' job to talk them into, hey, if you really want to win this challenge, these 2 workouts, or 3 workouts a week, they're not going to cut it. You've got to get some personal training with me, even if it's just 2 days a week. I used to normally throw people a bone and give them a little bit of a discount since they just forked out money to get into the challenge. But I would literally a lot of times pick up 5 clients at once.
Yeah, Ben would,
And then most of the time,
it'd be a waiting list to get on his team and to pay
And
him
to
to train
train
personal
during
training.
that 6 weeks, and to
Yeah.
train.
So you're saying we charge them for sessions?
Yeah.
They could do your normal group workout.
I would say, hey, how bad do you guys want to win
If
this
you
challenge?
really want individualized and win,
Or, yeah,
because
like,
Then you
another
have
year-
to-
they've got 10 grand or a couple thousand
If
coming.
they
What's
win.
that?
And that right, they're training with you 2 to 3 times a week for free, and then you can do one group session with people, and everybody's paying a third of the price, and you're still
Yeah.
tripling your hourly rate, and it'll probably make up for itself.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So a couple people did do, like other small group trainings, and they cut down on their price. So it doesn't necessarily have to be personal training.
So just say,
You
hey,
can
5
talk-
of y'all get together, I'll charge you $15 a
Right.
person.
Yeah. I mean, whatever, you want me to tie your shoe there, Peanut? Here, come here.
Yeah.
Nice.
Can I ask another question about it too? And this is just, you make the choice, and it might not be a choice. But I'm just thinking, we're trying to brand as like this level of excellence, but then we're just bringing other people in to be trainers. What does that say about what it means to be
Yeah,
a trainer
so-
at our gym? We're just like, hey, you taught class before, you're gonna win. What if they win? What does it say about us on the other end of like, our team didn't win and Ellen's team? No offense to Ellen, I love Ellen, but just saying it was a big
No, you're
picture to
right.
think of the opposite side, you know?
That is a good point. So I would be very, very careful as to how that went down. So if I did ask somebody, it might be somebody that I'm already considering hiring as a trainer who does have a certification. It might be somebody who doesn't have a certification but would be willing to work towards getting one. We had that conversation with Paul, I think, in reverse. You did the challenge, but you weren't certified yet, I don't think.
Right.
And then we asked the question if that was something you would be interested in.
Were you teaching at that point?
I don't remember. Probably.
I think you were
Probably, yeah,
teaching.
'cause you don't need
You
it.
were subbing at the very least
Right.
for classes.
We got 8 people in the room right now, and then Miles and Rob, and probably somebody else.
Yeah, so we probably
Oh,
want
yeah.
to.
Yeah, it was just a thought, that's all, I just wanted.
And that's look. bring shit like that up to me, because if left thinking on my own, I don't always think things through. That's one thing I love about having Jeremiah and Matt and Robbie, because I get passionate, I get rolling with stuff, and I do have ideas that in my head sound pretty good. But when you say it like Josh just said it, what would that look like if somebody who wasn't a certified trainer won the challenge? How would that make us look? I mean, who knows, maybe somebody wouldn't even bring it up. But what if they did? I mean, I wouldn't have a good answer for that shit.
It would be the whole answer of like, who was on your team and
You would have,
how hard did they try.
but we can circumvent even having to explain that by not even putting ourselves in that position. So good job on that job. All right, so we already talked about the responsible budget, but aggressive capital improvements. Oh, you didn't do that, did you?
Nice.
With that, Ben, can I say like, one thing I think that would help a lot with that is just keeping us informed of where it is. Yeah. So you just said this is the plan or the intention, which makes a lot of sense. But it's kind of like, hey guys, but then we haven't seen a new piece of equipment in 2 months, and we've asked for a couple of things, and it's like, well, actually, we lost a few members, and we got this instead. It's in the computer, and you actually can't see it, but you don't even know. So, and you know what I mean? Just something like that. Just an open line of communication, because otherwise you're sort of sitting here going like, I thought you said this, or I thought you said that.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually have a list of what is prioritized to be bought next, and then I'm also gonna have like a calendar that you guys can see on when it's coming in. Like the day I order it and get the shipping information, I'm gonna put, 60s, 40s, and 50-pound dumbbells, 2 sets of each, arriving August 1st. It won't take that long. But just-
No, I didn't. Yeah, nothing specific.
and then another list, thanks Jeff.
Your TT's teaching.
Another list of like what's after the dumbbells, what's the next thing that we're gonna look at ordering. And that's not written in stone, I mean, you might come up to me and say, hey Ben, that bench is getting ready to fall apart, and that suddenly becomes a priority. We can't not have a flat bench. Hey, no high five for Jeremiah?
I don't like to.
He's a hard person not to high five. That's
I don't like
cool. Yeah, and then like also the idea too, like you might that month invest in marketing, and then we're like, I thought we were gonna get a new bench, and it's like, well,
So that
we
would-
actually put a lot of money in, but you're just not physically
So here-
seeing it in your role. But actually, this is what we did.
Here's some good news, that'll never happen.
No.
Because our marketing budget will be for marketing, and our equipment
Oh,
budget will
right,
be.
that's cool.
So,
It's a real business. This is
we're at very thought out terms. You know what I mean? Why would I spend my marketing money on dumbbells, and why would I spend my dumbbell money on marketing?
Yeah. All right.
So, and that's because I don't want to take, what if we really need some equipment one month? Does that mean that we're not gonna market for shit that month? It just doesn't make sense to have to take one from the other. So that we're gonna have a budget for each section of this. Marketing strategies are gonna range based on everybody's expertise, from social media to card stock, just hitting the streets and hitting businesses, to word of mouth, all the way to like community engagement, going to East Border Rockin' or Oktoberfest over in West Annapolis, or doing like a pop-up workout in the middle of the Annapolis Mall. We're gonna try to get back to doing all these things and then some, as well as,
A lot of that was disrupted by the pandemic.
yes,
It wasn't only the chin, like that kind of stuff. A lot of that just got shut down.
It went
Now
away.
it's back up, right?
and when things like that are already rolling in place, people pick up the phone and call you and say, hey, can you be at the mall again this month? And you're like, oh yeah, of course. But when it goes away, now somebody has to pick up the phone and start the whole thing back up again, and that's sort of the hard part. Activities, events, and challenges. So aside from the challenges, doing stuff like an 80s kickboxing class, or pajama kickboxing class in the morning, or doing a special pop-up class at night with like black lights and glow sticks. Once a month doing like a barbecue out in the parking lot on like a Saturday.
Only if you bring those wings.
Yeah.
And just doing things that say, we're more than just a gym, we're a community, we appreciate our members, we appreciate our staff. We realize that we do things a certain way because we want things to be fun. But that doesn't mean we can't do classes that are a little more focused on just having fun occasionally.
Good culture.
A movie night where maybe we get a big projector out, we do a class, and then we put on a movie or a fight. You know, we get a fight and put it up on the wall and have people come out and maybe have some food and beverage like that too. Like I said, some of these things, man, it may just be us sitting here looking at each other and nobody shows up.
But we try.
We try. I mean, that's just how it happens sometimes. Everybody would be like super successful if all their ideas always panned out the way they wanted them to. They'd be like, I'm a mastermind. Everything I do is great. It just doesn't work out that way. We plan stuff, and then it's like, oh man, they're having some big event at the town center, and you're like, oh, everybody's at the town center, I guess. You know what I mean? So we try to look on different social media calendars and county and city calendars to make sure that there's nothing else going on, but there's never nothing else going on. There's always something else. It's just a matter of picking the best day. We talked a little bit about branding, so our logo is going to be very specific. Our graphics that we use are going to change substantially from between different shirts and stuff. We'll play around with a couple different graphics of the Phoenix and of the how the rise is with the wording and stuff like that, and fire around the Phoenix for some of them. But basically, we'll play around with some ideas on shirts, but the logo itself is really just going to be Rise with a circle Phoenix to the left of it, and then fitness and kickboxing underneath it. It's pretty simple, easy to read logo.
Fitness is first, not kickboxing. Put fitness and you get texted the wrong person.
What happened?
I said kickboxing and fitness.
That sounds like the same thing, but.
Okay, but it's fitness and kick, so alphabetical.
And we're only doing that because people have to know what we do.
Yeah,
But in probably a year, nobody's ever going to say anything other than Rise.
Ross, okay,
Just do it.
fair.
And
Yeah.
that's the plan. That's how we want it to be. We want people to really be able to recognize those four letters in the font that they're in.
So for like marketing and branding stuff with Instagram and everything, this is something that, because my wife does graphic design and marketing, and so like being proximal to her has made me really recognize a lot of these things. I think what would be a helpful thing too is once we get that is like finalizing, like whatever, if we're putting a post on Instagram or whatever, we like use this kind of font, use this kind of formatting, because it'll make us all look a lot more professional. Because if like just something, for instance, like using a serif font with a non-serif font looks great. Like having one with a feet on it and then having one without the feet, having something bold, having something at different sizes or
One step
italics.
ahead of you. And we have a Google file that you guys will have access to that has all that stuff in it.
Perfect. So because
It's an admin file and then an employee file. So there's admin file will have some stuff that only we have access to, but the employee file will be accessible to all of you guys.
So if we do like
Use.
flyers and stuff like that, just make sure everything's
Pull the
streamlined.
logo, snap it on the top right corner. and
fonts, color schemes, all of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
That's
So
good.
that makes us look a lot more professional and
Yeah.
everything is consistent across the, and it just makes, I mean, even just for your own sake, it makes you look like you know what you're doing. You don't have some like goofy
It's
ass thing.
easier,
Looks like it's made
kind
from
of pick
Microsoft
colors
Paint.
and.
One thing I can say though from my previous employer, if you're too hardcore on that, everything looks the same.
Yeah.
That's true.
They literally would not let you, it had to be exactly 1 inch over, 1 inch up, exact same font, exact same images, no stock images.
I don't think we'll go that route, just keeping mostly the logo the same, but also color
Yeah.
wheel and fonts to be within a certain range.
Are we bringing back online signups?
Yes. So part of the problem is they took that off of the Hotbox website. It's live on the C-Shape website, but the link is broken on our website, so it doesn't matter if it's live or not. You can't even get to it.
Yeah.
When we roll into the other website, the Rise website, it'll all come back. I don't know that it's worth taking the time to program the Hotbox webpage to do online. I gotta find out from Denby. If she's gonna have our website live in the next 4 days, then I'm not gonna bother. If it's gonna take longer than 4 days, then I'm gonna have them fix the Hotbox website so that they can sign up online.
So in the meantime, we can just shoot you a text like I did the other night, and that's totally fine, right?
Or they can sign up through the C-Shape website.
Like if, like Adam wasn't here, Rob wasn't here, or I don't have access to that computer, like when that guy was there.
You
So,
don't
like,
have, you don't have a login for
I
C-Shape?
do, but like not from the admin side, and honestly, I haven't
But even then, like, I don't know how to do that.
So, one of the things that we can do, we can play around with signing people up. But I changed it, I believe I changed it so that you guys can sign people up.
I think
From the
Yeah,
personal
from
training.
the personal training. I'm pretty sure you can. I think so. Yeah, member, new member, and then.
Yep.
Member, new members,
Yeah,
oh,
So
okay.
yeah, you go to members and then it's like add new member or something. It's
Okay.
it's an option in
I
there.
can show you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
okay.
have to learn how to do that too.
And here's what it is, it's a matter of getting all their information,
Birthday address.
birthday, address,
Got it.
zip code, full names, and then from there, at the very bottom, it's gonna say, save and go to billing. You always wanna save and go to billing, so then the very next thing it's gonna make you pick is to put in their credit card information under primary save card. the
So what
first.
if it was just a trial thing, like what I texted you the other night?
So if it's just a trial thing, then you're gonna hit, instead of save and go to billing, just hit save.
So they're in the system, and then when they
And it'll
click,
take you to the membership page where it allows you to pick that trial membership.
and that I can do from the personal training
From
side as
personal
well.
training side.
Okay.
So if you go to save and go to billing, once you put in their credit card information and their zip code, it's gotta have their zip code. Scroll to the bottom and just hit continue. At the very bottom of the page, when you hit continue, it will go to the page that allows you to pick a membership.
You're talking about free trials, right?
Free trial or an actual membership, either
Is
one.
free trial still like 1 day or?
So we have a 3-day free trial and there's also a day pass.
And day pass
What
is
does
how
that
much?
It's free also.
And what
Now we
if
have a
they
drop-in rate,
Oh, we do, so if
What's
they
the
bring a
drop-in rate?
friend.
the drop-in rate, it's in the computer, it's 20, I gotta change it to, 10.
10.
And that is under quick POS. So like, same place you would bring up a Celsius or the old school
And that's on the
shirts.
personal training side too?
Yeah, so if you go under, you'll have, there's 3 buttons at the top. Quick service button, quick reports button, and quick POS button. If you don't have those quick keys, you can still go under where it says, what's the one next to reports, actions, some, it's a drop-down box
Yeah.
where you find the schedule and all that. There's another little link that says, point of sale purchase or POS. If you click on that, it'll allow you to bring up items from there too.
Okay.
So some of this stuff is just a matter, you won't hurt anything, it's just a matter of going in there and like hitting some buttons and finding out where these links are.
Another thing too that we found out about is if people sign up with cash, take a credit card to put on file anyways, because that was an issue with a lot of the members. It's like they signed up with cash and then they didn't have a card on file and then they forgot and then they were here for 5 months and didn't pay.
Yep.
The first time.
Okay.
Yeah, just think that it. Hey Ben, no stress on the timeline, but just curious of the timeline of gear, shirts, and then also what the policy is gonna be of like, do we have to wear a shirt? Do we have to wear pants? Do we have to, yeah, like what's gonna be the policy
Booty
about
shorts,
when it
right?
eventually comes? Do we have to buy our own? Do we have to, y'all move it, you know?
So right now, there's no policy. I just ask that everybody try to look as professional as possible.
Do we stop wearing hot box shirts?
Yeah, I would.
Good question.
Okay.
I would.
It's a branding confusion.
So you're
Um,
telling me I need to
You
go
can
back
still
and
wear
gym
them.
clothes,
You can
right?
still wear them.
Yeah,
Just
right
not
now.
here.
Yeah. Wait, what did you
Buy
say?
more clothes,
What did you
right?
say Ben?
I said you can still wear hot box shirts.
Just not here. Right.
Fair,
Um,
fair.
yeah, so now that we are official and we're gonna start the painting process. We're gonna be stripping some of the Hotbox logos away and getting our logos printed and getting signs changed. Then we won't have a need for the shirts. The timeline on shirts, I'll be honest with you, I don't know.
So we just wear, but I was more asking, is like,
Yeah,
you just
do we
wear
wear
whatever
all
until.
black?
You can wear whatever, but if you wanna wear, you know, black, blue, gray, and white as a color scheme, whenever you, I went out and got some
Yeah,
shoes.
you
that
tell
are
me when to shop and I'll shop.
What about kicked up?
Kicked up fitness
You
gear.
guys familiar with that? You
Yeah.
can say no.
I don't care if you wear kicked up fitness
Okay,
gear.
just because I have so many of them, and it's part of my gym clothes regimen, is just cycling through all these synthetic shirts that I have, you know, so that was, I just wanted to ask what I avoid.
So at some point when we're gonna try to bring things to you as inexpensively as possible. We have all the equipment that we need between Matt and Jeremiah to do all of our printing in-house.
Oh, sweet.
That is amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's amazing.
That's
crazy.
gonna save us a lot of money and we won't have to wait for shit to get shipped. It'll literally be happening right down the street. We're gonna run off 50 shirts. They'll be here in about 30 minutes,
Are we gonna sell merchandise here too? 'Cause
100%. Yeah.
nice.
So that's gonna be part of the big
Yeah.
branding push.
So that's
If
cool.
you
So
ask
we-
Robbie, he's gonna tell you we'll be selling pens, pencils, erasers, mugs,
Skateboards.
skateboards.
Yeah.
He said, I mean, you can brand almost anything,
Yeah.
but, you know, we're gonna keep it to soft goods mostly at first, just hat shirts,
Yeah.
shorts, sweatshirts, tank tops, that sort of
But
thing.
then we're just a walking billboard, basically. If we're wearing our gear, then like,
Yeah.
we're just advertising the brand all the time.
Shoot,
It's
I
such a
will wear
huge
gym
part of
clothes
thing.
24/7.
Tony did a really good job with that with Kick Butt Fitness. It was a very recognizable logo. And he created a budget eventually, it didn't happen right away, where we did have a fair amount of clothing out there. We couldn't go very many places without seeing somebody wearing a Kicked Up Fitness shirt.
You do baby clothes too? I got 2
Yeah, we do
kids.
baby
I'll
clothes.
advertise for you.
100%.
Robbie made a good point too. It's kind of like Gold's Gym. Like, I have a bunch of Gold's Gym T-shirts, but I don't belong to Gold's Gym. It's kind of just like a brand, and kind of created a brand out of it. He's even wearing gold stuff all the time.
But we do want
Oh,
we do
really?
want our brand for most people who are wearing it to have been associated with it at some point.
What about
Yeah.
Very
gloves?
soon.
Yeah, so we're also gonna start getting gloves back in and they will have our logo on it as well. We'll
That's
start getting
huge.
wraps back in.
Yeah.
I remember the day I was like, we don't sell gloves. I was like,
The gloves may be a little more expensive than what they used to be. So some of the advice I got from Tony was the China route is not a whole lot cheaper than buying stuff made in America, not like it used to be. He said, but even if it was such a pain in the ass, and I remember this, where we would get orders that weren't quite right. And you can't send them back, you just had to eat it. Like,
Yeah.
occasionally you might get a credit on the next order,
Yeah.
but like to fix something that came in a heavy ass box all the way from China is going to cost just as much as whatever the mistake was.
Yeah.
So it's like, he's like, you're better off just sort of sticking local. That way, if there's a problem, you can fix it faster. He said, I thought it was going to save me more money, and in the long run, it didn't. So some of the stuff, we're not going to be waiting 6 months for gloves coming from China with our logo on them and everything. I'm hoping to be able to get like a turnaround time of like 20 to 30 days on stuff like that. Obviously, a lot quicker with shirts and things of that nature, but the gloves are a little bit different. And just to be able to offer that to people. I'm not going to go 8 different colors. We'll probably just do black, gray, and white. That's it. Black, gray, and white, or blue, gray, and white with our logo on it. And maybe pink for October or something like that, like we used to do.
just because we brought it up, and that's about the shirts. I don't want to sound negative. I'm asking just genuinely to understand what is going to be our affiliation with the other hotbox. Like not like Seamus maybe still going to work there. Jeff and Miles maybe still going to work there. Do we talk about it? Do we say we're like we got guys who fight out of there, or do we sort of try to pull away from
Well, isn't
it?
Vegas still coaching here too?
Mike is still coaching.
So
So
kind of
we are
what's
basically going to be officially unaffiliated with them.
Yeah.
Do we have instructors who are fighters who also train at that gym? Yes. Is that a selling point on a talking level? Yes. I'm never gonna advertise that,
Yes.
that we have from another gym, even though they're really apples and oranges to us. It'd be different if we were making that relationship had we not previously been a hot box gym. But we don't, to save people the confusion, I think it's better to be a different gym. We just happen to have some of the same instructors, because they like it here and they like it there, and both gyms can benefit from having those instructors.
And that is the
That's
only
it.
gym that you can do that with, because I know there was a previous employee who was doing stuff at other gyms, and it was, hey, pick a gym or go.
Yeah, so I have not made anybody sign
Right.
a non-compete. I'm not probably going to make anybody sign a non-compete. If you guys feel like you're not getting what you need from here, then by all means, go to another gym and see what you can do. But I don't think it'll be a problem. I don't think anybody's gonna have a need to go make money at another gym.
Okay.
If they're teaching at Hotbox, it's simply because they want to, because there's not because it's an excessive amount of money that they're bringing in as far as
You got
extra.
some over here, Ben.
But just because they like the classes up there and they like the environment, and that's really it.
Yeah, well, especially with one of our core values being integrity, I definitely don't wanna be like that person where they're like, oh shit, she's just at every gym, or, I
Well,
don't know.
but I
like,
mean, you
hey,
gotta,
let me listen, think.
I don't think it's a, I personally have been in both, and I don't think it's a problem. I personally don't think it's a problem.
Right, and I've been at gyms where it's not a problem, and I've been at gyms where they're like, you
Yeah,
are
correct.
ours, and it's kinda like, okay, but,
Correct.
So
you know.
here's my take on this, and I agree with Tony used to run into this because he would do like nutrition stuff, and he would want to take that nutrition information to other gyms.
Right,
Like Josh does yoga, right? That'd be like me saying, Josh, I don't want you to teach yoga anywhere because I'm worried that, you might somehow mismanage the
Yeah.
relationship with the yoga student. It's two separate things.
for sure, but if it's like, okay, you coach at this gym and you personal train at this gym, should we be bringing people here?
If you can help it, yeah, try to bring people here, but if,
Right, but if we can't, then it's one of those, like, we're not gonna be, you know,
No.
okay. No. Not that I have that goal, but I just wanna make
There's
sure.
there's a million different examples of it. You could have a client who calls you not through the gym and wants you to come to their house. And
Right.
you live in your
Yeah,
neighborhood.
I
And you're not-
FaceTime
you're not
people,
gonna-
I
you're not
program,
gonna
but
say
like,
I have to
you know,
bring
like,
you
I
to the
just
gym. It's ridiculous.
I wanna know the rules.
That's your point.
So.
So run your
that's all.
business,
Yeah.
but use this as part of your business, you know?
Okay,
I mean, that's it. So the first gym I worked at is a gym in Columbia, and it was it's been a wildly unsuccessful stint for me over there because I'm always down here, and everybody I talk to is
Well,
like, I'm not
thank you.
driving to Columbia to train with you. So there was a lot of business I missed out on for the first year. So it's like I still work there just in case on the off chance somebody's like, because I'm in a position financially right now where it's like, if I gotta be here at 6 and then be there at 7:30 and then be here at 9, it is what it is. I'm gonna do that. But I'm also like not in a hurry
You're
to
stealing.
try and, I don't know. I don't think us taking care of ourselves is in any way fucking over anybody else.
No, and that's, I mean, look, we live in a world where everybody wants to see something written on a piece of paper.
Yeah,
And we said goodbye to the handshake sort of way of doing things. And I'm not suggesting that there's not a need and a reason for that, okay? Because people have gotten fucked, and that's what they came up with to cover their ass. But honestly, you guys go about, like Josh said, run your business.
yeah,
When you're getting ready to do something, just ask yourself the question, does this feel wrong or does it not feel wrong?
yeah.
If it feels like it might be wrong, just come ask me, you know what I mean? And I may say, it doesn't excite me, but I'm not gonna stop you from doing it, or I might say it's completely fine. Or I might say, you have lost your mind and it's not acceptable. But, you know what I mean, like, the point is, it doesn't have to be this thing that's an agreement. I want you guys, because number one, I'll be honest with you, the state of Maryland is a I forget what they call it. You cannot impede somebody's right to earn money. So anybody that makes you sign a non-compete clause in Maryland, for the most part, it's not legally enforceable. It's a waste of time. You're going to waste more time and effort trying to enforce it than letting the person just do their thing in a way that's amicable for everybody. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, what? I do. I'll go get it in 2 seconds.
Thank you, Josh.
See, I have to make some mistakes more than once. Bi-monthly and monthly trainer meetings. So this is important to me. This is something that we used to do where somebody would have to put together like a report of sorts. And Josh has offered. You can go get it. It's in your backpack. Charlie. Keys. Here. Right now.
Shoes? Thank you. They're my favorite.
So Josh has offered to kick us off, to basically give us an idea of what's expected. And he's going to do a couple research and reports on things that he either knows or doesn't know. I'm not going to say that he has to do it on stuff that he doesn't know. But the idea, the premise moving forward is that we're all going to take turns doing some research about something that we don't know or know very little about. It could be a body part, it could be a movement, it could be a disease, it could be whatever. So somewhat related or fully related to this field. And then come in and give a presentation to everybody, and we talk about what's upcoming for the month, briefly for like 10 minutes. So we're looking at like maybe a 30 or 40 minute, 50-minute meeting at the most, bi-weekly. Or we can do it monthly in the summertime, because the summertime tends to get really busy. But the point is, it's free education. We get to learn stuff. We get to learn stuff by doing the research. We get to learn stuff by other people doing the research. It's going to bring us a little bit closer together. And it keeps us accountable. It keeps us learning. If you want to get a certification or a continuing education credit, I'm going to start looking at reimbursing you guys for that, even if it's just like half of it. I mean, if you're going to pay $400 for a certification, or $500 or $600, and I can figure out a way to help you recoup half of that, it means a lot to me that you guys care enough to continue to do that. And it's an investment in the gym. You know, I mean, teachers do it, college professors do it. I mean, everybody. This is not like a new concept, and we should not treat it any differently.
Okay. The meetings, do you know when those are going to be?
No, we'll figure that out.
Okay.
Procedural uniformity. So the front desk is going to have some procedures. Somebody comes in and wants to know about training or about getting a membership. We're going to have a very short set of guidelines on what needs to be communicated to that person before they walk out the door. So whether you're a trainer sitting at the desk or you're like Adam and you are at the front desk, we all have to be on the same page. I am not going to overcomplicate it. Please tell them precisely what each class is. Please tell them precisely what we do on this side of the gym and what we do on this side of the gym. Show them around where the bathrooms are. Talk a little bit about the type of members we have, being such a mixed group of people, and we all get along, and we're all very personable, and there's a very special vibe here. And then let them walk around and come back and ask if they have any questions. You know what I mean? The difference in prices of the packages, you know what I mean? We don't want to be fumbling around with 8 different types of memberships. I'm going to cut the memberships down to like 6 different types of memberships. There may be some other ones that don't need to be explained, like the athlete one or the hot box membership. And that hot box membership is basically people who are still going to both gyms and have something previously worked out. For a price, we're going to honor that price by basically giving half to me and half to Michael. So now they have to have 2 memberships, but it's still going to ultimately cost them the same amount of money.
That's a smart move.
I don't want to keep anybody or discourage anybody from going there, and I don't want anybody feeling like they're discouraged from coming here because they have to pick. You know what I mean? Between me or Micah, why not still give them both membership at a slight discount? Bonus and incentive programs. Like I said, Matt's gonna help us. Matt and Jeremiah are gonna help me figure that out. That's not my forte. It's not that I can't do it, but that they have a lot more experience than me in offering that sort of thing. So what I want is, right now the incentive for training is just that you sell a certain amount of training and you get bumped to a different percent. That will probably stay intact exactly the way it was when Chris put together last 2 Octobers ago, or whatever it was. It's aggressive at first, and as you get more into it, it's harder to hit those numbers. I can tell you that it's possible. I've done it 3 times now. It wasn't easy. It takes some work, but the more you build your client list, the more stable it gets, and the more consistently you're going to hit those numbers, and then you can start working for the next level. It's a 10% raise. If you go anywhere in any industry and ask your boss for a 10% raise, he's going to tell you to get lost. 3% raise is really very standard, 4 or 5 if you're like a killer. So by reaching some of these sales levels, and you can hit, this could happen twice, right? You can hit the 30-70 split at the beginning of the year, and by the fall, we hit an 80-20 split. You got 2 10% raises in a single year. Now, granted, nobody's going to pay you 90-10 or 100%, so that you top out at 80-20, it's a lot of money. It's still a lot of money. For selling memberships, though, we're going to figure out a way to make sure that you guys can get credit for somebody that comes here simply because you told them to. And don't know that I'm going to come up with a way where if you're sitting at the desk and somebody comes in looking for a membership, that I'm going to give you money because you were sitting at the desk when they came in for the membership. I'm not saying I should pay you guys or compensate you guys somehow. I just don't know that a bonus is necessarily the appropriate way to do that. The bonus I really want to be more designed for you guys taking time outside of the gym to promote yourselves and to promote the gym and driving people in.
That's just for members, not clients, personal trainer clients.
Both. Yeah.
They have to be a member of the PT plan.
That's what it is.
So, the same thing.
Individual monthly meetings with me. I'm not a life coach. I'm not a life expert. But it helps me to get to know you guys. What do you want to do? What do you want to be? What does all this mean to you? Is it just something to pass the time? Is it a lengthy future in this business? Is it a side hustle? I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer. I'm not saying that any answer is going to deter me from spending more or less time on you guys reaching your goals, right? But I have to have a good understanding of what all this means to you if I'm going to help you grow as a person, if I'm going to help you grow as a professional. And by having a monthly meeting with me where you have to check in on where you are, I mean, here's how I would say, here's how we start this, right? And this is what we're going to finish with. We've already talked about payroll accountability, so raise your hand if you are 100% happy and exactly content with where your life is.
Oh, that's mean.
I'm kind of close. I'm borderline.
It's good. You don't have to be Oprah Winfrey to be self-actualized.
Can you be happy and still want to like chase things? Does that count?
Well,
No.
No?
think of it as in terms self-actualization is a psychological term basically used to describe somebody who doesn't have a lot of wants, needs, or desires. Most of what they have experienced is fulfilled. It's the last stage of life. The first stage being birth and having your very simplest needs met, like milk, breath, so food and oxygen, shelter. You know the fourth one? What's the fourth one?
Isn't there like love is
Water.
nothing?
Good
Warmth?
touch, right?
Touch, love, like the human connection. Those are the very basic needs. So those get met, and then we grow up, we grow into young adulthood and adults, and we have all these experiences through life, and then we reach a place where whatever your career is, whoever you are as a person, wherever you went in the world, to be famous doesn't necessarily mean that you're self-actualized, but Oprah Winfrey is a good example. That lady pretty much has done everything anybody could possibly imagine. She doesn't want for anything. She is helpful. She's like the epitome of that term. And I'm not, I don't know, you could probably say that to some level Donald Trump is self-actualized too. It doesn't matter what your political views are or whether, how you view women or black people or whatever. Like, you can't really, that's actually the point of being self-actualized, is that nobody can even take that away from you. It's not a thing that gives a shit about anybody else's opinion. It's your own thing. It's how you feel about your life and the world around you. So if you're close to being there, Josh, that's awesome. Because it's attainable for regular people to understand that you have your needs met. I can pay my mortgage, I can pay my car payment, I'm gonna be able to retire. I enjoy my job. I enjoy the people I work with. I enjoy my significant other. I'm happy with the amount of time I spend with my family. These are the types of things that somebody who's approaching or at a self-actualized point says. And I remember struggling for a long time, being like, that seems so far-fetched. Like that I could even say half of those things, right? More like I work like a dog, I'm tired, I don't have enough family time, I don't make enough money, I have trouble paying my mortgage, you know what I mean? But I never let that get under my skin. There's a thing that economists will talk about that it's like a hidden thing for the people that are wealthy or not wealthy in this world. And it's not really hidden, it just seems hidden to the people that are not wealthy and live paycheck to paycheck and have made bad choices. And basically, we put ourselves into that spot. I had a friend post something about his car payment and how much it was. He was asking other people, and a lot of people were like, my car payment is $0. And then somebody put under that, they said, not having a car payment is the key to wealth. And it's not really the key to wealth, but they're not really far off, right? So, I have a car payment, but I do know that I'm richer when I don't have a car payment. You don't have to be an expert, an economist to know that. If your car payment is $500 a month, how much extra can you do every month with an extra $500?
Mm-hmm.
A lot. Whole lot.
A lot of diapers.
Yeah. So, and then when those diapers go away, the $500 is still there. Now it's what? Vacation or home improvement or whatever. So,
Another case for you, Paul.
as I said before, I made a lot of decisions out of fear. And I made a lot of decisions because I didn't feel like I could ever be where Josh is or where Oprah Winfrey is or where Donald Trump is or even, my parents. I look up to my parents, I think of them as being pretty self-actualized people, and my older brother too. And I lost my train of thought. So what happens is somebody says, let's get a gym membership. Two people are talking, let's get a gym membership. And one of them says, I can't get a gym membership. There's no way, it's not in my budget, I don't have the money for it. What was that person's first mistake? Yeah. You already screwed. You set the tone for the whole situation as soon as you use the word can't. It's my least favorite word. I hate hearing people say the word can't. The other person may feel that way, but that's not how they respond. They respond by saying, how can I get a gym membership? Same thing goes for vacations. I spent a lot of my life not taking vacations. Why? Because I said, can't afford it. Instead of asking myself, how can I afford to take this vacation? Right? So, the way we approach training, the way we approach our clients, and the way we approach our own selves, and the way that I plan on helping you guys grow, is trying to share my experiences with some of this stuff with you guys. Not like I'm smart. I'm just telling you I've screwed it all up so many times. That's how I've learned. And you can learn it by listening, or you can learn it by making the same mistakes. It doesn't make a difference to me. If you're anything like me, you'll probably do a nice, fun combination of the two.
Are we ever going to create a family membership?
Like for your family?
No, like
Like if a whole family wants to do it.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I gotta talk to them. I like the idea of that.
Like couples month or something like that.
Yeah.
Like if
Husband and wife.
husband and wife come in, they get, even if it's just $5 off. Or if somebody comes in and there's two teen kids that are athletes that are going to come in and work out while they're doing class. Like there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to offer them something. So that's really it. I mean, the monthly meeting is for you guys to tell me where you want to go, to see if there's any way I can help you get there, whether it's in this gym or outside of this gym. And the next monthly meeting is for you to tell me how it's going. And what did we miss? What can we do differently? I'm going to have a goals board out here on that wall
For us or members?
for everybody. I
Ooh.
encourage you guys to put it up.
Like,
You're going to pick a date of which you want to reach that goal by. You're going to pick the goal. And there'll be a spot in the middle if you want to put a plan, like just a brief synopsis of how you're going to meet that goal. Whether it's like, I want to run a 6-minute mile by September 1st, and I'm going to do it by running at least 6 miles twice a week.
So at the Y, I had a board up that I put all my clients with PRs on, like deadlift, whatever. It really was useful, like, especially those teenage clients, man, when they hit like a new PR, I would give them the marker and they're like, alright, go put it up. And you can just tell, like,
yeah.
I don't know, it's a really good thing.
What's the point of picking a date?
Accountability.
You actually
Yeah.
Gives you direction.
If there's no date, what do you say all
What's
the
the
time?
point? Yeah.
I'll
Oh,
start
no,
it next week.
Yeah.
Sense of urgency. So, and then just having it up there for our members
Be like,
to see.
how's your
And
mind
also, but
going?
also it's for them too. So they're gonna put stuff up there, and then we're gonna see it. I'm gonna say, hey Chris, how's that bench press coming along? I haven't felt like I've seen you doing a lot of heavy benching.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna start it next week. Or maybe he says, oh, my shoulder's bothering me. Yeah, Josh.
Yeah, I gotta roll. I'll be back at like noon or so.
Alright, cool.
Alright, guys, we'll see you in a little
Good
while.
job.
So maybe we say, well, just because you got a little injury doesn't mean that you can't hit this goal. What do we, let's have a look at your shoulder. Let's see if it's something that we can fix, or recommend somebody to help you fix it so you can get back on track.
Mm-hmm.
So it forces us to engage people about their goals, and them to tell us, yes, it's going great, or no, it's not, and then we get to maybe find a way to be helpful.
Yeah.
So that brings me to my very last thing. And again, I hate to sound so deep and philosophical, but that's just how I am with a lot of stuff. I can't help it just because of these are the type of things that help me to see the world differently, to see myself differently, and help facilitate the change that had to happen with me to become a different person. This was asked by a professional interviewer from a well-known magazine to a Shaolin monk. The question was, what can we do daily to advance our path? Love, this is the Shaolin monk's answer. Love, Don't be selfish. Do daily acts of kindness. Be nice. Pray a lot. Practice a lot. With practice comes wisdom. Wisdom brings advancement each day. And pain brings growth. That's how we learn. You know how old this Shaolin monk was?
15.
11.
11.
11-year-old Shaolin monk named Bo. And that was his answer. It was a long interview. But imagine being 11 years old and not just saying that statement, but knowing that in your heart that that is how we grow. That pain is the touchstone of growth, and that being uncomfortable and trying new things is really the answer. The answer is not comfort. You know, the answer is not status quo. And it's really easy to get stuck in that because, I mean, what do you like? A fluffy blanket or a bed of nails?
You can say both.
You know, I mean, I would much rather take the fluffy blanket, but the blanket's not going to help you, though.
Yeah.
It's just good for keeping warm on winter night.
Yeah.
So, anybody have any questions?
I'm excited.
This is a related comment, but Hayden just started reading Meditations. I've never read that before or not, but it's a very similar line of thinking. So,
Kind of to add on your point too, something I read recently. There's a lot of stuff, something that brings you a lot of pleasure right now, typically is going to bring you pain, even the ice cream, even whatever. It's going to bring you a lot of pain immediately, cold shower, immediately a little bit more pain, but then in the long term, more pleasure. So, good way to think about it.
We gotta have both, right? Can't know the difference.
so honeymoon sex or
Children.
classes.
Yes.
That's the ultimate pain and
No
pleasure.
more. Stop.
You got one more in you.
No.
Kevin, when are you going to get started, man?
Hopefully here soon.
I was to say, how could you not get started after this? Be excited. I'm
So
ready.
reach out to Kevin when he's in here and just ask him what he's doing to get started
Sold.
when you see him. But
Sold.
don't make him feel uncomfortable. Though.
Are you training or
I'm
what's
just kidding. Make him feel, that's how
all
we,
I
just
do.
got done saying that's how we go. Being uncomfortable. The challenge will be helpful for everybody, but also anybody that's new. When I first started, I got 3 clients right off the bat out of the challenge, and that helped with momentum.
Yeah. Are we allowed to talk about that yet? We've had a few people ask about that know and want to be on teams. So can we start
Put
telling
some people in your
Yeah.
pocket.
Put some people in your pocket. Oh, we're gonna be unfortunately fighting.
Yeah,
over
once we get done
so-
painting, and I get the chalkboard paint,
Sweet.
that'll be the first thing that goes up on that wall. Is the
With the challenges, I've been through a lot of them with them. It's good for the gym because the people on that team, I know people from 8 years ago who are still friends and still work
Oh,
out.
that's awesome.
So you'll always have that like,
Camaraderie.
and then you'll get that vibe that we used to have because
Yeah.
people would come in and ask, like, talk to people they would never talk to and be like, "What's your team doing this week?" or "What's going on?" or you know.
I
Do you
had
know when you're gonna start that? Like soon, right?
what
The
challenge?
challenge?
The Monday after
Easter?
St. Patrick's Day.
So next week.
Oh shit. Yeah, I guess
Wait.
because St. Patrick's Day is what, the 17th?
No, start promoting it.
I was
It'll
saying
be the
Patrick's
20th.
Day next week.
So the
yeah.
20th is when it starts. So we gotta promote now. So we gotta start poaching people now.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't understand what the challenge is.
Body fat composition. Body composition defined by
So we're all gonna do a starting measurement.
loss
and
of body
then
fat
do
percent.
whatever we need to do.
Midway measurement and ending measurement.
Sweet.
So we as trainers are not participating or
No, we're participating. I got
No,
baby
your-
fat to
your-
lose.
Your scores count.
Yeah, they do count.
Yes.
Bro, I'm trying to get huge, man.
You can still get huge. I can.
Go on top
So
of that, buddy.
the one challenge that I did the best.
You need to do what Hayden
You know
was
who
doing
always,
yesterday.
you know who does really well?
Yeah, work your angles.
Jeremiah.
Yeah. The one
You
challenge I
won?
did the best. I
Jeremiah
actually gained
does the best of
8
everybody else.
pounds, and I lost
Yeah.
6% body fat.
Sweet.
Okay.
So you
So
can
what do we
gain
have
weight.
to do that? Do we just tell our people like, hey, we're gonna solely
No,
focus on workouts, or like, I'm a health and wellness coach, can I be like, I'm gonna give you like nutrition coaching too?
Yeah.
Like, is that considered cheating, or it's just
No,
like,
No,
no,
no.
we encourage nutrition coaching.
okay.
What are the rules surrounding PED?
So legal, right? Legal.
You know, all of your clients on Saturday.
Alright, Jim, what's if you do the pharmacy real quick?
Yeah,
Take the
right.
lab and roll behind, you need to win this money.
Oh, Lord.
We're gonna use what's called a Fit 3D body scanner. It'll probably be in this room.
I'll sell you guys breast milk, that's the real good stuff, right?
Yeah, right.
There's a whole documentary on that.
How much?
Right?
It's a scanner that spins you in a circle. You stand on a scale on a platform, and basically gives you
Yeah.
a 3D image of your body.
What?
It's a little bit.
It's
graphic.
humbling. It's
It's
humbling.
graphic.
It is graphic. You can
It's
see
the same thing
what.
like
You can see things.
We'll just say
don't
you can
wanna
see you can see all the male and female parts
Yeah.
very clearly. So if as your the image will go to your trainer. Your trainer will basically be looking at you naked.
Okay.
But it's not actually a picture of you,
It's just a blob.
Of a scan. It's a silhouette.
Okay.
But it has all your information on what your basal metabolic rate is, what your body fat percentage is.
Where's this machine?
It's at
It's at the,
the other Kicked Up Fitness in Annapolis Junction. I asked Sean how much it would be to rent it,
Yeah.
and us going up there. He said, "I'll put it in the truck, and you guys can
Yeah.
bring it and have it
Here.
for the whole challenge
Oh,
here."
sweet.
And I said, "How much?" And he said, "Don't worry about it. I know what it's like to be starting off."
Aw.
And so I may take the money that we were going to pay him to rent it and put it as a down payment to buy it
From him.
from him.
Sweet.
Yeah, that was- that
How
was
accurate is this thing?
It's not as accurate as a DEXA, but it's about as accurate
But
as
you
a
can
body
see it
fat.
change, right?
Yeah, you can definitely
Yeah.
you can
So it's
see
like,
that
okay.
As long as it's consistent.
It may not
And it's,
be
the
a
key is
I'll
also
fix-
I'll show you.
I've used
I'll
this
show
one
you
before
one
called
day.
past
InBody,
ones.
and
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
it was an
Yeah.
expensive
Yeah, I
machine,
still have
it's
a
like
login.
$10,000,
I'm an
but
admin.
in my opinion, I didn't think it was very accurate.
Yeah,
not
that's
any
exactly.
more accurate than a $30 handheld.
Yeah, but
Well,
you
the
can
thing
still
that-
see
well,
a change,
the
though,
hydration
right?
level, your hydration
well,
can
yeah,
affect
that
your
part.
body fat percentage
Yeah.
on there, or if your hands were clean enough, it can affect the electrodes going into it and stuff like that. Like, I literally tried the one that we had. I think it was like a $10,000 piece of equipment.
So-
Stepped on it, 13% body fat. 5 minutes later, stepped on it, 11% body fat.
Okay.
Stepped on it 5 minutes later, 12.7. And it's like, that's all we got.
12.7 to 13 wouldn't be bad.
Right.
But I did the same thing. So to give you an idea, I did the same thing, and I could never get more than a 1% very.
I think caffeine affects it too.
I'm
Yeah,
screwed.
I think the most I could ever
You're
get
screwed,
was like
Paul.
a 1
You drink
percentage
caffeine like nobody's
variation.
business.
Now, are there like guidelines for this thing too? Like the InBody, like one of the big things that can make a huge difference was whether you worked out before or after.
Yeah, you
You
can't.
could not work out beforehand.
Right.
You could
That's
have
almost
caffeine
anything.
or alcohol.
Even a DEXA or a Bod Pod, they don't want you to work out before. Your muscles get all swollen.
Yeah.
For the Fit 3D, type fit and